Hi guys, so this is part 2 of my live model show tips and guide. On this episode we'll be going from shelf to box. So I'll be taking my Alborozo here from the shelf where he's been sitting for ages to the box, which is, if you can see, way in there. Alright, so let's get started. So there are actually a lot of things you need to do before your horse is ready to be packed up. And I like to do all these things now so that when I get to the show, I don't have to sit there and try and do them very quickly for every single horse. Because I have about 40 horses and I don't have time in the usual hour that the show is open to do them all. So let's talk about repairs. So the first thing you need to know about repairs is what is your horse's show side. And this will make sense in a little bit, but right now I'm just going to talk to you about it. So, for most models it's pretty easy. Obviously, this is Alborozo's show side. This is not his show side. Alright? There are some very easy mechanical ways to figure this out. First of all, if you look at a horse and his head is turned in the direction, that's his show side. Okay? So, that's a very, very easy way to tell. If your horse, for instance, like Mahogany here, has a straight head, so you look straight down and it's straight, which I know is hard to see because of his blanket. Maybe I can take that off so I can show you guys. Sorry, he was just hanging out here. He's going to be a demo later. There we go. So you can see it's straight. Then it's pretty easy if he's in a trot, because you want the farthest, this leg, you want the farthest front leg and the farthest back leg on his show side. Okay? And if it's really impossible to tell, for instance with my Peter Stone here, you can see he's got a pretty straight neck. And his hooves are not as easy to tell by with that. Then you can usually choose whichever one you want. I would say this is his show side because his mane is on this side and this shows a more intricate paint pattern as well as shading, whereas this side is kind of like nah, and you don't really get to see the personality of the horse, whereas on this side you can really see it. So that's just a really quick way. It's important to show your horse on the show side, because if you don't, the judge may get curious and wonder, why aren't you showing it on the show side? For instance, if I had my Alborozo like this, she'd be like, I wonder if there's a flaw on his other side that she's trying to hide. Plus, this doesn't show your horse's breed, and it just looks bad. Alright, so why is show side important? Because usually judges, especially in Breyer classes and in Peter Stone classes, are going through these horses very quickly. They don't have time to really give them minute details and look at every single bit of the horse. So, my Alborozo has this hoof rub, box rub on his knee, and he has one on his hip, and one on his shoulder, right there. If this was his show side, this would make him not LSQ. But it's on his off side. The judge is not going to be able, she can't touch the horse, so she's not going to be able to pick him up, and this is all she's going to be able to see. It's kind of around here. She may can look him at the front a little bit, but she's not going to see those flaws. Alright? That doesn't mean you don't want to try and cover up those flaws a little bit. You don't want a giant gash of paint right there, because then she'll see it from the other side of the table. But she won't see these tiny rubs that he has. Alright? So that's why this is important. You need to know what is fixable and what is not. Giant patches are not fixable. Seam splits are not fixable flaws. Sometimes if you just have too many rubs, it's not fixable. Alright, so you've got your show horse here. You've decided that you need to fix him up a little bit. And so let's get started. I'm going to pretend like I'm fixing Well, I'm going to use my Mahogany here, who is my Cleveland Bay journeyman, because he has some nasty ear rubs. So you may think he is so not LSQ. Here, let me really wipe these off. I was practicing earlier. Let's see. By the way, yeah, if you get these wet, it'll take the pastel off. So he has this nasty ear rub that's really, really obvious. So you can fix it. First thing, do not use Sharpie. Do not use, I wouldn't use colored pencils. Colored pencils are wax, so it's going to leave a kind of a shine to it. Sharpies will leave a metallic shine to it, which will give it away every single time. You want something that can hide your flaw. So I use pastels. I bought these pastels at Walmart. I mean at Michael's. It's just a really cheap brand. It's about 10 bucks, 15 bucks. And it comes with all these. So I get all these colors. Really, you only need a few. The trick is to go simple. And to always try and go darker. Especially on the ears. So if my Alborozo had an ear rub, I would probably go black instead of gray. The trick is just knowing how shading works on horses. Alright, so the colors you need the most if you're going to buy a different set is black, a really nice rich black, a nice gray, a grayish brown, a warm brown, some kind of ruddy red, a orange, a yellow, and a white. Those are your absolutely necessary colors. Alright, so for my Mahogany here, I'm going to use black to fix his ears. Okay? And if you mess up, like I said, you just take water, wipe it over, and you get to start all over again. Alright, and I do all of this before I pack my horse, because I don't have time to do this at the show. So, I have my horse here, and I'm just going to brush it over the area that I'm going to leave a little bit uncovered so you can tell the difference. But I'm just brushing. This brush is a regular brush that I've trimmed the ends off, so it's kind of stubby. So it's enough to make sure that pastel dust sticks. And then I'm going to blow on it to get the excess away. I'm going to try not to go over it with my makeup brush. Alright, so I'm going to try and get a detailed shot here so that you can see what this has done for him. So, can you see where that ends? The ear rub ends? That's where I pasteled. It's basically made it disappear. Alright. So that's just a really neat trick. That's what I use to repair ear rubs, is pastel dust. Alright, so what if you have a horse that has a black spot, gosh forbid, has a black spot on his white? Then you have to be extremely careful, but you can scratch it off. For instance, my Peterstone here, you can't really see it. Sometimes they have marks on the white down on their legs. He has a mark here on his back. I'm just going to demonstrate it anyway. So you can get an X-Acto knife. Do not go in like this. You will scratch your model and the judge will be able to tell, and it will be terrible. You want to go in horizontally. So, you can see I'm parallel with it. Do be careful though, when you're working in curvy areas, that you're not scratching something else as well. Very, very tricky. Be very, very careful. Alright, so when I get to my spot, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna lightly scrape away. I'm not even really pushing it. I'm letting the X-Acto knife scrape away. Because most likely that dot is just on the surface and it's just stuck there. It won't really wash off at all. So just the light scraping will get it away. You just want to make sure you're doing it very light and you're doing it horizontal. So, ta-da! White spot's fixed. Also be very careful if you're doing it next to hooves and noses, because those have shading. See, he has a yellow nose. If you scratch off near that nose, it's going to look white and it'll look like a rub. So, like I said, just be very careful using that technique. Okay, so our horses are all prepped and they're all good to go. So I'm going to go back to my Peter Stone here, actually. Now it's time for you to put on your, now it's time for you to dust, actually. So what I use to dust is a big makeup brush. You'll see almost everybody use these. You can also get little ones to get in these little details. Like in his mane, this probably wouldn't do very good. So you need a little one. But this does for most horses. And you want to make sure you get into every nook and cranny. Dust can get everywhere. So you just want to make sure you're getting all over him. And don't really push down either. You don't need to. Just lightly dust. Like you're dusting. Like lightly dust. If you've made repairs, such as on Mahogany's ears, I would be careful to go around his ear. Because I don't want to ruin what I just did. Or you can do your, I wouldn't recommend you doing your pasteling afterwards, because for me, dusting is the very final step. Alright, so after you finish dusting, you can put on your leg tag. I usually put my leg tag on the farthest leg, or on the leg farther away from the judge. Alright, so leg tags usually have their name, breed, gender, and your initials, but do be sure to check your show packet, which we talked about in the first part, to make sure that's what you need. Alright, so your horse is picture perfect, ready to go to the show. Don't worry about any repairs that packing will do, because you can repair them at the show. And part 3 will cover that. Alright, so how do you pack your horse? A lot of people have what are called pony pouches. I am not so lucky. I'm kind of broke because I spend all my money on horses instead of pony pouches. So, come up with this cheap option. You take a gallon Ziploc bag, you write the horse's name on there, and I have in here paper towels. I prefer paper towels because they do not leave the dust that toilet paper does, and even if they do rub, and I don't pack, I don't pack them tightly enough to rub. This is more of cushioning, instead of winding really tight. If you wind really tight, you probably will get rubs on your hooves and on your ears and your tail. So, very light packing. Just kind of drape it over them, so to speak. Alright, so this is the original paper towel that I used with Appalachian Ridge. So, what I do is I'll get my horse and I'll wrap it in my paper towel and I'll stick it in my box. And I'll stick the bag somewhere separately. When I get to my show, I take my horse out, I unwrap him, I fold this up, and I stick it in my Ziploc bag. This is so that when my horse is done showing, I can pack him up and put him away if I need to. This is great for if you have a ton of horses and they can't all be on the table at once. Because now you know exactly where your horse's packing is. You don't need to hunt around for a long enough piece of paper towel. It's all together. And then once you get home and you take your horse out, you can just stick the paper towel back in the bag and you have it for your next show. So you don't have to keep getting new paper towels, and you don't have to try and find it at the show. And as far as boxes go, just any big plastic tub will do. For my Peter Stones, I usually keep the box that they came in and use packing peanuts because they're a little more delicate and I'm a little more worried about them. Customs, you want to be very careful with them as well because they may not be sealed very well, especially if you're getting them from someone that doesn't really do LSQ customs or is kind of YouTuber. So just be careful. I probably won't pack my customs in this. I'll probably put them in another great multi-purpose tool, t-shirts. You can take t-shirts, wrap your model up in a t-shirt, and again, very gently, and stick them in a bag. And they should be protected. If you have an absolutely fragile horse, you can always just set them on the back seat of your car, kind of cupped in a t-shirt. So that, my friends, is from shelf to box, and I hope you look forward to part 3 where we talk about where I give you a complete list of supplies that you need for the show, as well as anything you need to know during the show. Thank you so much, and please comment with any questions you may have. I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for watching. Bye!